So we're here with the beautiful Shari Hughson, and Shari was one of our very engaging speakers at Women Mean Business Network workshops last year. People still talk about her and how she spoke to us and how she taught. So people got a lot out of that amazing workshop. And thank you, Shari, for attending that. Thank you so much for being a part of our network. Shari, you are also, please tell us your title. I've been trying to memorize your title since Sundays.
Absolutely. So I am currently the director of the Masters of Management program in Innovation and Entrepreneurship at Smith School of Business, Queen's University. It is a big mouthful.
But it's an amazing role that you play there. And as we got to know you and a little bit about your background, it is what people call an unconventional kind of journey, especially into the business world, and now helping young people launch their careers into the business world as well. So tell us a little bit about this, because when you first began, you started your career as a registered nurse.
I did.
And then how did you get into that journey?
I am still a registered nurse.
Ah, okay.
I still do nurse 1 weekend a month. I've done it my entire life.
Nice.
It's been the base of all of the businesses that I've launched. I love new and exciting different things. I like to push my limits. I like to do things that others sort of are surprised that I've done. So it's been a part of my personality. So as a nurse, I realized very quickly that I loved health and wellness, but I didn't like the job of a nurse.
Oh, that's interesting.
So I knew very early on, while I was doing my degree, that it was not a career I wanted, but it certainly made an amazing foundation.
Yes.
Of transferable skills, but also a window into the wellness industry.
You were quite young when you began your entrepreneurial journey, because I believe you were in your 20s.
I was 25.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was 25 when I made the decision to start my own business. Actually, probably 23. So it was a 2-year journey of sort of prepping and learning, and writing a business plan and figuring out what business I wanted to launch. But I was on a mission that was going to be my stepping away from my nursing career. So at 25, I did start a home healthcare company that did extremely well, grew very quickly, that I had a successful exit in my 30s, and then went on to four more
companies.
After that, all in the healthcare industry.
Right.
Yeah.
So what were some of your best highs and lows of this entrepreneurship type of life that you started at an early age?
Yeah. I would say, because I started in the 80s, I would say that the first thing was there was not a lot of females who were entrepreneurs. And the word entrepreneur wasn't even used back in the 80s. We were all business owners.
Right.
So I would say the first major low was a year of searching for funding to get started. So nowadays we've got angel investors and venture capital firms, we've got BDC, Business Development Bank of Canada, all that are focused on entrepreneurship and helping entrepreneurs launch. Yeah. We didn't have any of that in my day. There were incubators, accelerators. So I think that struggle to get started and that first 2 years was a very, very tough journey.
Yes.
Where I didn't know business and I didn't know anyone in business. And so the amount of people telling me I'm crazy, just go back to a job, never stopped. And so that willpower to say I am going to make it was probably the hardest struggle.
For you.
Yeah. And then I think the wins were, we were a home healthcare company. We were helping seniors and disabled people who were in their homes and needing help. And it was amazing when we were able to make a difference in someone's life. So that kept me going, is we were making a difference for people.
Right, that's very, very empowering for you.
Very empowering.
For your whole raison d'etre to be an entrepreneur. So I'm just curious now, in your background, were your parents entrepreneurs or anyone?
No.
Just you?
No. No one in the family is an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
I was also the first to go to university of our family as well. So that like to be different, like to do things that others don't, has always been there.
Yeah. My
My parents, of course, are extremely proud of everything I've done, but during those early years, they and all of the family continued to say, I don't understand what you're doing.
Right.
Get a day job.
Yes.
Please go get a job.
Yes.
And so they were just very worried, and
of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is understandable.
Yeah.
You know, and so much has happened since then.
Yes.
But that's interesting what you said. Your trait is to be different, and there's a great strength in you. So you went from being an entrepreneur, founding 4 different companies, having your ups and downs, having the strength to tell your family, no, I'm going to do this, I'm going to make it happen. But then you and your husband had an incredible journey where you decided to go to some very isolated area for what, 7 years?
Yes.
And live off the land. Tell us a little bit about this adventure for 7 years.
For 7 years. Yeah, so when I was a young kid, I grew up here in Kingston, and we had a cottage without electricity, you know, an outhouse. We loved being in the bush. We were always in the water and always in the forest. And I can remember as a kid, I think like grade 3 or 4, we were asked to draw our dream home. And everybody came with these mansions and swimming pools and slides from the 3rd floor into the water and these beautiful, very expensive homes. And I drew a log cabin, 1 room, with a little window, a half door, so that all the animals could come in. And I had all the little animals drawn in. And so it's been a dream of mine to live in the wilderness. Right. But at the same time, both my husband and I have a fascination with how our ancestors lived. So it's something that we've always studied. I did a lot of studying of how did we handle birth from our ancestors? How do we handle death from our ancestors?
Oh,
so from a nursing perspective, I was fascinated, but also how did we live?
Right.
And so we had wanted to experience it. We said, you know, he also had the dream since he was a kid, and we met in our 30s. And our very first evening we met, we talked about wanting to live off the land.
Really?
It was our first, it was like, okay, something's odd here. I've never heard anyone else say this.
Yeah.
And so it was a bit, yeah, it was. And it was just such a foundation for everything we did. So we were in the bush all the time. We learned all kinds of skills before we went. We read constantly about medicinal and edible plants. We would spend every spare moment that we weren't running our businesses in the bush.
So you did a lot of preparation for this.
We did a lot of prep.
Yeah. And so where was it that you went?
We moved to the middle of nowhere in British Columbia, between Williams Lake and Bella Coola, in what's called the Chilcotin Territory.
Okay.
And we were about 75 kilometers on a non-maintained road from the main road. So we were a long way from anyone.
Yeah.
And we built what's called an earthship home, 1 word, and it's an earthship because it's built from 85% recycled materials, and it's a ship because it's a fully contained unit to live in that provides all of your survival or human needs, physiological human needs in the house itself. So it was a very interesting thing that we built. We'd never built anything before. And after we had the shell of it built, we decided to live as hunter-gatherers, which was our plan. So we did live 2 years as hunter-gatherers.
So your food, all your food came from what you hunted
and
fished and gathered.
Absolutely.
So
for 2 years.
For 2 years.
Yes.
And you still talk to each other today.
We do.
Still together.
We do.
And then slowly you went through this evolution from hunter-gatherers to farming a little bit.
Yes.
Which is an amazing, I guess, self-discovery for you and your husband.
It was, because we had thought we would live forever.
Right.
Living off the land and just have this wonderful life of exploring and adventuring. And what we realize is we understand why our ancestors didn't live very long. It's a very, very difficult life. Mm-hmm. And we also discovered innovation. What we realized afterwards was that we started to add in and innovate the way our ancestors had. Right. So every problem that we encountered, we started figuring out, well, what should we do about this? How do we change this discomfort or this issue that we were facing? And in hindsight is when we realized, when people were talking to us, that we went, oh, we actually lived accidentally the evolution of civilization.
That's right.
So we went through all the eras from farming to the industrial age. We added power, then we went to greenhouses, and then we automated and used sensors and the Internet of Things, and we had Internet and the information age, and And by the end of the 7 years, we were living more futuristic.
Right, that's incredible.
Than current society does.
That's
so
right.
It was an amazing journey that we had not expected, and the learnings that came out of that were very different from what most people would expect, but also anything that we had expected
As well. And then situation changed where you were called back to Kingston, your hometown. And so tell us a little bit about what brought you here, because from that is what also led you to Queen's University and your role there too.
Yeah,
it's quite interesting.
So my aging parents are here in Kingston, and so I had come back to see them in 2012, came out of the bush at that point just to see how they were doing, and realized that they were going to need us fairly soon. So in 2014, we moved back to Kingston from the bush and came back here to help them. And that's been the journey we've been on since we arrived. About a year after I came to Kingston, I realized I'm going to be a little bored. So I reached out to Queen's, to the Smith School of Business, and basically went in and said, here's what I have done. I've been an entrepreneur, I've had these different businesses, this is the size of the businesses I've run. I've done this crazy journey into innovation and realized how important innovation is to our future. And somebody there, thankfully, said, you need to meet Dr. Elspeth Murray. And she's the Associate Dean at Smith School of Business. And so we met, and she said, we've got this new program that we're launching, or that we've launched, that we think you'd be a great director for. And that's the management program in innovation and entrepreneurship. So that's...
Yeah. You're a perfect fit.
It was a very unusual and very perfect fit for my skill set.
Yeah, which is amazing. So what would you say is your highest accomplishment at Queen's that you feel most proud of? I mean, there's many moments, I'm sure, but
I would say number one is we have impacted so many people's lives. The students that come out are transformed from when they came in, and they leave stronger, more driven to make change in the world, and to be impacting the future generation that will help us with all the problems that we have in the world is just so inspiring. It's been amazing to witness what these young people can do.
That is an amazing accomplishment.
Yeah,
the world's a better place, actually, because of that.
Yeah.
So thank you, Shari, and to all your wonderful students. My last question is your next endeavor. And I didn't realize this until you talked to Gabby and myself, that I guess Women Mean Business played a small role in where you're going in the future. So I'm very excited for you. Tell us a little bit about that.
I would say it was a big role that you played. So I recognized after you and Gabby approached me, and that you believed in me, and you felt confident that I could deliver a workshop and a presentation that you felt was worthy of the network. You saw in me something that I hadn't seen. And so, and I think that's what you do so well, both of you, in the Women Mean Business Network, is you are seeing in others sometimes things we don't see ourselves, and building us up to say you can do this. And that was really the first public speaking that I'd done, other than my students.
Right.
And so it taught me a lot about public speaking. It got me up on a stage, and it made me realize that I had a story that I didn't maybe realize before. And so the ability now to start a public speaking career and start sharing some of those stories and some of the things that I've learned along the way has been inspired by that first somebody believing in me.
That's amazing. And that, I guess, is one of our big accomplishments as well.
Yes.
Shari, you know what? It's a great pleasure to talk to you. We can go on the whole day. We probably will talk a little later on.
Yes.
So I hope you've all enjoyed meeting Shari. An amazing inspiration. And yes, it is about building each other up and changing the world even a little bit in our own backyard.
Absolutely.
So thank you so much.
Thank you so very much.
Thank you.